on, guys? Welcome back to another video. Right now I'm currently in the beater on my way to go work on the Eclipse again. If you watched last video, I said stay tuned for the next one. It's going to be some cool stuff. This is not going to be that next one. We're still waiting on those parts. However, tearing down the Eclipse, I actually worked on it for a couple hours last night. Got the motor basically ready to pull out. My theory on it, which seems to be pretty true, I haven't actually pulled the head or the pan yet, but basically I was running 1540 for my oil, and it got down to like 0 degrees out. It was real cold. It's still only 10 degrees right now, but with it being that cold, I was getting like 100 psi of oil pressure, and I was running just a dash 4 feed to my turbo. So I was basically getting 100 psi going in my turbo, and on startup getting that much pressure with the oil still so thick, it wasn't able to drain out the drain tube fast enough, which was a dash 10. So it's a pretty standard setup, except for running an FP. I probably should have had one of the inline filters / restrictors on it. But anyways, basically the drain tube was filling up and the oil wasn't draining fast enough, so it was burbling back inside the turbo, and it blew out both turbo seals. So my intake was full of oil, my exhaust was full of oil, and then after driving for a mile or so, the first mile the whole road would smoke up, and then after about a mile it would clear out. So I was kind of trying to figure out what it all was, and then I ended up kind of diagnosing it and taking it apart a little bit. So basically, with the oil going through the turbo and being so thick, and I had a little bit of crankcase pressures, and I was popping out a dipstick, so pretty much sealed the dipstick down. And the next drive, the crankcase pressures got so bad that it blew out the front main, lost all my oil, lost oil pressure. However, I didn't spin a bearing or nothing like that. I did start it yesterday. I'll insert that video here in a second. Having a flashlight. Front main's gonzo. But it starts, runs fine, sounds good. However, I still am going to pull it apart. With the blow-by I was getting, it's time for new rings. I think I might have sourced a short block, so I might just switch out a short block. I will be upgrading the head studs and head gasket, so we'll be shooting for a little bit more boost this go around to make about 18 psi. I want to make around 25. I'm trying to make over 400 all wheel. I think it'd be a really, really fun daily. So just still stock 6-bolt, but once I pull it all apart, we'll see kind of the condition of everything. And worst comes to worst, I have a built 6-bolt down south for the green car. If you guys know the GST, my plans was to always put that in there, but at this point the GSX already has everything for a 6-bolt, and if it's going to be $800 to $1,000 just to basically replace rings and what's needed with it, and I don't have a machine shop available to me here in town, so I can't really bore it out. So it'd be kind of a half-ass build, or a half-ass build, putting it back together with just slapping rings and stuff, and don't really have the money to pay for a full build, so might just bring that built motor up, ship it up here, and buy some cams for it. So I stole the cams out of it to put into the green car. So I buy new ones for the built motor. The head's super ported, the bottom end's all built and everything. If that happens, we'll go more into detail about that whenever it shows up, but that might be the route I'm taking. Unfortunately, I didn't want the daily to be better than the race car, but at this point, the green car is just parked at my parents' house, and I can't really do anything with it. It's out of state, so GSX might be getting all the love here pretty soon. So hopefully, don't have to go with the new turbo, but I might. I've never rebuilt the turbo. I don't know how hard it's gonna be, or if it's gonna be easy. There's no shaft play in it, so it might be as simple as just changing out the seals. But I feel like if you got it apart, you're gonna change out the seals, you might as well change out the rest of the stuff. But I don't know, we'll see. If I do go to a new turbo, I was thinking probably a HTA green or a newer red. I really like the power band of the old red. As far as I know, the new red spools a little later, which I don't like. For a daily, I made 18 pounds at 4,000 RPMs, which was, that was super, super fun daily. I could stay out of boost, get the great gas mileage, and then boost wasn't like the green car, where at first I wasn't hitting boost till about 5K on that thing. And that was only 16 pounds. After cams, it made my wideband, or my power band, a little bit lower. I was making boost at about 45, which was nice, but being front wheel drive, and even on 275s, it's just like boost and just lights them up. So like I said, we'll see. But currently, going to work on the GSX, so probably finish dropping the motor today and do some cleanup while we're in there. I want to relocate my battery. You can actually just drop it straight down to the subframe for less than 20 bucks if you're handy and using stock parts. But probably do that, clean up some wiring, maybe reroute some stuff. Definitely going to clean the bay out, and we'll see how it goes. Got the motor pulled out. Took me about 3 hours. Gotta pull the transmission off now. Car's all empty. Gonna do a lot of cleaning up on the bay and stuff, and then get this all pulled apart, put it on a motor stand, and see what the damage is. So this thing right here, it's a pump. That's all nastiness. It's already come out of the heater core. Just cycles water through it. First time I did this, it was super, super nasty. Not as bad this time. Probably go through a couple more buckets. Call it a day for it. Alright, so I've been working with this thing for a little bit now. We got the engine bay kind of cleaned up a little bit. Just taking a bunch of dirt and grease and stuff out. I've just been using soap and water. I don't have any degreaser or anything, but about to start cleaning up these wires. But I did go ahead and modify the battery tray. There's actually a write-up here on Tuners for it. The write-up, the guy had the braided steel line for the clutch line, so it was a little more difficult for me with the stock hard line here. But basically, you take your tray, which is originally like this, and you kind of flip your tabs 90 degrees the other way, and you hammer the crap out of it till it gets pretty flat. I had to cut mine a little more, like I said, with the harness and the hard line versus how he did it. But the way I got it is I put a little piece of rubber here so I didn't get too much noise, and I just slide mine behind the line here, lines up with that bottom bolt hole, and it'll just sit on the frame. The battery will sit there, so I'll drop it down about a foot or so, kind of clean up the top corner of the bay. And it actually utilizes the stock bolt holes, so your original bracket kind of sits in here like this. So you can use those two bolts. I'm actually only going to use one. Like I said, it's going to be pretty secure sitting all down here and stuff. But that was a quick little cheap mod. I used 10 snips and a hammer, so it didn't cost me anything. And it'll definitely make a difference in the base. So with that, I'm just going to keep cleaning up the bay, getting these wires, probably rewire a couple of them and keep going towards it. So we've made quite a bit of progress with this thing. Just did kind of a lot of wire tucking, cleaning up and stuff, as I mentioned earlier. This is actually the exhaust here. You can kind of be able to see all the oil. I don't know if it's gonna focus for you guys or not, but a bunch of oil got pushed through the turbo, went through that thing. Got some parts laying around everywhere. The motor pulled out right here. You can see the turbo, so there's no shaft plate to it, in or out, but it definitely was pushing oil on both seals. The charge pipe was, I don't know if you can see this thing. It's kind of, I drained it and cleaned it already, but there was a bunch of oil in there. There was still oil here in the intake. And like I said, that front main just went poopy. But for the most part, got all my extra accessories like gauge wires and subs and whatever else is in here, and everything kind of tucked away nicely. So all you're gonna see out of this really is got my map sensor that plugs in right here. This is a ground to the intake manifold. This big line is actually the cable for the throttle cable, so that'll be tucked by the manifold. Here the battery is sunk almost a whole foot. I mean, a regular one sits almost up at the top, so just throw the ground on there, it'll be good. As for the power wires, kind of tucked all these. I separated the ground to the transmission and this power to the starter here. So I ended up pulling this apart, kind of ripped it out, did that. So I separated them. That guy's laying over here. It's a little beat, and from where the terminal sits at now, this will be a little long. So I'm probably going to shorten that up, make new ends to it, make it a little bit nicer of a ground, and just keep cleaning up some stuff and get ready to put the engine back in. It's going to be a couple weeks probably before I get a new one. I think I found one. But I mean, it's gonna be like, I gotta get it, I gotta ship it, I gotta order parts, gotta put everything together, then pull the car back in and get it all going and stuff like that. So definitely gonna be out of it daily for a while. Might have to drive the 240, which isn't gonna be good this time of year because it's all cold and snowy and icy, and got proxies that are halfway worn down on the front of that thing. So besides that, I mean, it's coming along slowly but surely, so I've got to keep cutting at it. I also redid some wiring down here in the wheel well. You're not going to be able to see with no lights or anything, but I had wires that were coming through my boot. You might have seen from the wideband video, and they were kind of hitting my clutch pedal on the fully depress, and it was kind of giving me a weird pedal feel at the bottom, and it was just annoying. So finally got those out of the way, and then did part of that tuck. I also flushed my heater core there. Gonna do a fuel filter. I haven't decided if I just want to replace the stock one or if I want to go get an aftermarket one. I'm running a Fuel Lab one on the GST. I really like it, but a little over $100 is not quite needed right now when I could spend $20 on a regular one. So like I said, we'll keep at it. Here's the transmission too. My clutch was working, but with this new bottom end, I'm gonna be doing head studs. So I plan on running more boost, and the last thing I want to do is turn this thing up on a tune and then boom, clutch slip and pull it all out again. So that being said, might do the clutch, might get injectors to also handle the boost and the fuel pump. So we'll see. Kind of torn between, hey, you're broke, get it back on the road, you need something to drive, and dude, everything's out, you might as well upgrade it. Do it now so you don't gotta do it again, right? So we'll see how it all goes, and I'm just gonna keep at it, basically get it to the point where it's good to be a roller. Put this thing on an engine stand, kind of clean everything up, throw them over here in my parts box. Oh, and I am getting new motor mounts too, the poly inserts, so that'll be a little bit nicer. Still need to clean out my intercooler. It didn't really show signs of leaking oil, but the amount of oil that was in the charge pipe, definitely going to be some in that thing. So I'm going to have to pull it off and clean out with some gasoline. And yeah. So this video's probably going to be multiple days, just whatever I come work on this thing. So probably tomorrow, and then probably some next weekend, and then whenever parts come in and we continue doing other stuff. But yeah.